Hey everybody, it's Monday night and Labor Day weekend. How you doing? We're here to talk about liberty. You're listening to the Road to Liberty podcast live in, Nebraska, because Zach's in the Reptidon studios. I had to remote in from my place in Papillion. Mike will hopefully join us sometime tonight before we're finished. So how you doing, Zach? We had a little bit of some stormy weather this weekend. Did you survive that pretty good?
The storm affected something. I don't remember what it was though. Some people were upset about it, but I don't remember.
Yeah, a little something that was supposed to happen Saturday evening. Oh wait, the freaking Husker game! Damn it, Mother Nature! What's your problem?
Look, as I said on Facebook, this is the most excited I've been for years. Like, I feel like after this first game, this is as good as I've seen Nebraska play, maybe since 2000.
I mean, that opening kickoff was a thing of beauty, wasn't it? Right out of the back of the end zone.
So I guess we're getting our weekly reminder from our friend Carl that Jake Porter needs $50,000 to participate in debates in Iowa. So yes, jakeporter.org/donate.
If Jake Porter gets $50,000, they'll require $70,000.
Yeah, well, I don't think they can. They can only move the goalpost so many times before even normal people are going to be like, okay,
no,
guys, come on.
They can move it an infinite number of times, and they will. Because the point of the goalpost in the first place is to keep third-party candidates out of the debates. That's the whole point of them. You know, that's why the Federal Commission for Debates, or whatever it's called, was created in the first place, to keep third parties out. So they'll keep moving goalposts as much as they have
to. I mean, they will. If they move the goalpost too much, though, then that's going to mean that Republicans not going to get to debate in New Mexico.
All the better. Well, speaking of which, we have a little bit of news on the Gary Johnson campaign out there in New Mexico. As you guys will remember, Gary Johnson was polling in second place in New Mexico behind the Democratic incumbent. Who is it? Mike Rich? That's the guy's name? Or is it Mark Rich? One of those two. He was the Republican running in that race, came in a distant third. And Gary Johnson was polling it, I believe it was 26%. So very good stuff there. Now, to combat this dastardly threat of Gary Johnson in the general election for Senate, we have a little bit of tomfoolery going on there. So Maggie Maggie Oliver is the Secretary of State in New Mexico, and she decided on her own accord, without any public hearings whatsoever, without even a vote in the legislature, to bring back party line straight party voting. Now, what this means is when voters in New Mexico get their ballot, they'll be able to check off a box that says Democrat, Republican, or Libertarian, and that'll automatically cast a vote for every Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian on the ballot. So you got a state in New Mexico that's majority Democrat. Most people there are Democrats. The Republican doesn't stand a chance in actually unseating the Democratic incumbent. The only real threat there is Gary Johnson. And we all know Gary Johnson is more of a left-leaning libertarian. So he is a huge threat to take votes away from the incumbent Democrat.
I feel like we should caveat that a little bit. When we say left libertarian and right libertarian, what we are talking about is a left libertarian is a libertarian that is more focused on social issues. A right libertarian is a libertarian that is more focused on economic issues. We are not talking about left-right libertarians as though socialists are libertarians. We're talking about
where their priorities lie.
Where your priorities as a libertarian are.
Yeah, right. Gary Johnson's the kind of guy to get offended at the term illegal immigrant and says bake the cake. That there's tend to be more left-leaning kind of positions people have.
I don't think the bake the cake thing is accurate, but I'm not willing to argue about it right now.
I mean, he did say it, but whatever the case may be, he did reach out more to the left in the election than he did to the right. And I think he's more comfortable courting the left than he is courting the right. You know what I mean? He's more comfortable going after people based on social issues as opposed to economic ones. I think that's fair to say at the very least. So Gary Johnson in New Mexico is a huge threat to Democratic control. And we all know what a libertarian in the Senate would mean, not only for the Libertarian Party, but for the liberty movement as a whole. I mean, a libertarian in the Senate absolutely blows up the duopoly that the Democrats and Republicans have going for them. And it lets people know libertarians actually stand a good shot at winning. So let me read you the statement from Maggie Oliver, who is the one that instituted the straight party voting. She said, and I quote, "The more options people have, the easier it is for more eligible voters to participate, and participation is key to our domestic process. As Secretary of State, I am committed to making it easier, not harder, for New Mexicans to vote. From moms juggling work and kids to elderly veterans who find it hard to stand for straight party voting provides an option for voters that allows their voice to be heard while cutting in half the time it takes them to cast their ballot." Now, before we respond, I want to read you Gary Johnson's response first. He says, "Suggesting that New Mexico voters don't want to take the time to actually indicate their preferences for each office is ridiculous. Pushing voters towards straight ticket voting is a worn-out staple of major party incumbents and flies in the face of the reality that the great majority of voters are independent-minded and don't need or appreciate a ballot that provides a shortcut to partisanship." Now, I think Gary is absolutely right when it comes to this issue, and both the Republican and Libertarian parties are suing the state in order to get this reversed, which good on them.
Here's the thing. First off, screw the Republicans, because they would do this if they were the majority in the state.
They absolutely would.
That. Two, straight party voting is so that you can get voters who are too lazy or stupid, and yes, there are stupid voters who have no business voting. I mean,
probably the majority.
Yes. I would say that voting, like any kind of voting, probably shouldn't happen, but I'm the crazy anarchist, so whatever. Even if you are just a normal, like super moderate libertarian, you should not be spewing the we all need to get out there and vote line. Most people don't pay enough attention to politics. They shouldn't vote. You should put at least 10 hours of research and effort into every election. If you can't do that, stay the hell away from the polls. You are screwing the rest of us.
Or at least the candidates you intend to vote for. You know, if you're going to vote in a race, it behooves you to know who the people are that are running and what their positions are. Just a little bit of research. The internet makes it really easy. I promise. It's not that hard to do. Mm-hmm. You know, I know there's a lot of...
If you, to be a informed enough voter, I would say takes about 10 hours every 2 years. You can do that in August or September before your November election. Take a day, take a weekend, take a couple hours every day over the course of a long weekend, and look at the major races in your area, especially the local ones that aren't getting as much press. Find out what they stand on. If you can't do that, don't vote.
Yeah.
Your opinion is stupid. I don't care if you were going to vote for the guy I want you to vote for. Your opinion's dumb. Don't vote.
I mean, that's the thing about it. Straight ticket voting absolutely encourages laziness on the part of voters. That's something we don't want. That's something that nobody should want. We should want people who are going into that voting booth to actually know what is going on. They need. I want them to know who the candidates are. I want them to know what their positions are. I want them to know a little bit about the people they're voting for. And simply putting a straight ticket voting on the ballot, it encourages laziness. You know, and the only reason The only reason for it to ever exist is to screw over third-party candidates, as if there aren't enough institutional hurdles in the way of third parties without throwing up this straight ticket voting bullcrap. There's no reason for it. The only reason it's being put in now is because Gary Johnson is a legitimate threat to the Democratic powers that be. I think you muted your mic.
Yeah, I forgot I do that so
There
that I
you
don't
go.
get a sound bleed. So I would say that the Democrats would do this, even if it wasn't Gary, but the Republican was doing it abnormally well. Because both sides, whoever's in party, is always going to take that stand where they're all about free and open elections when they have 65% of the voters who are registered to their party. It's like in Nebraska, the GOP can sit back and be super comfortable about everything. But if it came down to a really close election, you would see them start to pull this shit in a heartbeat. Because they know that the party with the most voters is going to get more of these people who are just going to straight ticket and not think about it. If they have to get into the booth and think, they're going to start remembering the campaign ads. They're going to start remembering what their friends have said, and they're going to be like, actually, Pete Ricketts is kind of an asshole. So maybe I'll vote for the other guy.
Yeah.
Hashtag screw Pete Ricketts.
Yeah, screw that guy. Nobody likes him. It's not even a lie. Nobody likes him. They just don't like Democrats in this state. So he's probably relatively safe.
So I'm going to trust John on this one. Friend of the show, John Phillips. Awesome guy. Since the lady is up for election herself, it is a conflict of interest. That is a great point. That is absolutely a conflict of interest. If this is something that voters voted on in like a referendum or something, okay, that's stupid and you should all know better, but at least it's fair. You had a chance to vote on it, that's how you went. Or someone who's up for re-election to do this, go screw yourself. Just get bent.
You would think something like this would have to go through the legislature to actually be put through. But she did it on her own. There were no public hearings. There was no vote of any kind. She just decided straight party voting is what we're going to have, and that's that. Now, to be fair, she'd run for Secretary of State, and one of her platforms was she wanted to reinstitute straight ticket voting because they had it back in 2012. But still, you would think that some kind of vote, some kind of check on that kind of power. Apparently, that's not the case in New Mexico. The Secretary of State can just unilaterally change the voting system, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's very screwy stuff going on in New Mexico.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is happening. Like, we are getting this attack from the system, and it's hitting hard. We lost a candidate in New York who's on Larry Sharp's team, who got his signatures disqualified, and it was one of those things where it was 50-50 on whether we could have pulled that one out or not, so we decided not to do the resource dump that it would take. Steve got kicked off the ballot. Several outlets are not putting my other candidate, George Hendrickson, in debates.
Jim Schultz wasn't invited to his debates.
Jim Schultz, Jake Porter, like the list is going on, and I feel like, so at first we were always trying to stay on the ballot, and now that we're getting to the point where we're holding on the ballot more often than not, they're trying their next tactic to make us waste all of our money so that we can't campaign like they can. And we're going to see this in Nebraska. In 2020, when we run a much bigger slate of candidates, they are going to hit us with all of this nonsense. And we are going to need money to fight them off in court, as well as money to just have campaign ads. And this is what they do. They bleed us out. We don't have the money for this. Gary does. So this will be fun, because if there's one person, Carl, joke's on them. I don't have money to waste. if there's one person in our party who has the money and can get the money to make them hurt on this, it's Gary. And he's proven he's like, say what you want. That dude went to war in 2016. And we can get upset about a couple gaffes on TV, but that dude put in work. And if he's serious about this, he only has to put out effort for a couple of months. You're going to see it.
All right, all right, everyone. I want to give you a quick reminder for everybody who's listening to this podcast on one of our podcasting, on their favorite podcasting app or on YouTube. This show goes on live on Monday nights at 8:30. Every Monday night at 8:30. And you can be a part of the show by typing in your comments. And if Zach likes it, he'll put it up on the screen and we'll answer your questions. All right, back to the show.
That's on Facebook Live. It's on our Facebook page, Roads to Liberty. So like us on Facebook.
Yes, and see all our fantastic names. So, what was I going to say? All right. So, how many times have you heard from Republicans, especially Republicans in Nebraska? That's where I hear it from most of the time. Oh, Libertarians just can't win. Libertarians just can't win. Now, I'd like to see Republicans. I'd like to see their reaction if they were treated the way the Libertarian Party is treated. If their candidates weren't invited to debates, if they had to spend all their resources just getting back on the ballot, if they had to waste all their time getting signatures just for their candidates to get kicked off of the ballot at the end of it, I'd like to see what their reaction might be if they had to deal with this nonsense. Would they be going, oh, well, we just can't win? Or would they be going, you know what, maybe the system's screwy here. Maybe the system needs to be fixed. Because remember, a lot of these same Republicans are the ones complaining about Facebook, Twitter, YouTube censoring their guys. Like, yeah, how does it feel? We deal with that every 2 years, and we're up for election. You guys, Alex Jones gets censored on Facebook, and all of a sudden you need legislation to protect yourselves. Okay, I get the anger there, but how about apply your standards consistently? You know, if you're going to get all pissy about being censored on Twitter, why don't you get equally pissy when candidates who are on the ballot are being censored from debates, when we're being kicked off of ballots? How about apply your principles a little more consistently there? Oh, yeah, that would require you to have principles. I forgot. You're the Republican Party. Sorry.
So, what is it? If the two big parties didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have standards at all.
Yeah, yeah.
I like Jared's comment. The ROC is treated the exact same way. They just take it willingly.
It's absolute nonsense, man. But a little bit of good news, and I will give credit to certain Republicans when those certain Republicans deserve it.
The three Republicans that we ever give credit to?
Exactly. I'll give you a round of applause to Mr. Rand Paul. Thank you, sir, for doing the principal thing and endorsing Gary Johnson for Senate. I want to read Rand Paul's statement of endorsement here. He goes, Gary Johnson is a true fiscal conservative. As governor, he reduced the size of government while improving services. He cut taxes, and he set what may be a record for vetoing more than 700 unnecessary pieces of legislation. His leadership on issues of government overreach, protecting Americans' Fourth Amendment rights against mass surveillance, and common sense foreign policy is sorely needed in the United States Senate. For New Mexico and the nation, he will be an important ally and a critical independent voice. Bravo, Rand Paul. That was absolutely fantastic. And you get a round of applause from me for that. You know, Rand Paul
redeemed himself a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
I muted you for a second, Nathan. Your connection's funny, so I'm going to bring you back in a second. Just going to jump in real quick. Like, we've been giving Rand a lot of crap lately, not just us, but the liberty movement in general, because things like Jeff Sessions, this redeems him a little bit. Like, this is good Rand Paul. All right, you're back.
All right, what did I cut off? Was it in the middle of the statement or what?
No, it was kind of towards the end. You were wrapping up, so just move on.
So bravo, Rand Paul. That was great on you. Very happy that you came around to endorse a libertarian candidate. And it's funny because it came on the heels of his dad's support in Who did he endorse?
Murray Sabrin.
Murray Sabrin. He came on the heels of him endorsing a libertarian for the first time in, God, I don't know how long.
Salty. When I was down in New Orleans, I had really good footage, like a 2-minute clip of Murray Sabrin just talking to me on camera. And because I was still learning how to use that camera, I didn't have the sound on, so it's completely worthless footage. Oh, gosh, I felt stupid. I'm really upset about it.
That's a shame. That's a true shame. But both polls have endorsed libertarian candidates. You know, those Nazis.
It does kind of make some of those anti-Ron and Rand Paul left-leaning libertarians have to eat a little crow.
They can suck it, for all I care. Those idiots. Ooh, they're Nazis. Nah, screw yourself. You're an idiot. That's all I got to say about that. Good
Look,
cry.
When those people start saying Eric July is a Nazi, it's just like, okay, we're done. We're just done.
Yes, what a Nazi, that black guy over there.
Now,
He's
this
a
is
Nazi.
Well, I realize I don't do myself any favors by having this. Where is it? Yeah, over here.
It's right there.
The tiki torch. That's a joke, everyone who doesn't
No,
get it.
It's not a joke. It's a dog whistle.
I'm dog whistling.
We're dog whistling a racist. Woo!
So,
you know people aren't going to take that as a joke, though. You know that. Certain people watch this. You know, certain people are going to watch this. They're going to go, see, I told you, Nazis.
Look, here's the thing. 2 things. 1, so the reason this comes up, I was debating someone in a libertarian forum who was going after Tom Woods and Eric July. I don't care about Tom Woods. I know he's your boy. I think he's boring to me.
Tom Woods is awesome.
But I was just like,
yeah, he's dog whistle.
Maybe you shouldn't call Eric July a Nazi because that's really like not helping your point right now. And the dude's like, he pulls up pictures that I had on my Facebook of me wearing a cowboy hat and like a dorky Western shirt, which is popular dress in the South for when you're like going out on the town. Like you don't wear that at home. It's considered nice. And I bought it initially to make fun of my cousins and poke fun at them. And these guys are taking me seriously in these pictures. It's like, oh dear. So I'm a racist because I dress Southern in a picture. You might have some racism going on yourself there, bud.
What a racist! How dare you dress in a cowboy? You need to pull that cowboy hat and wear it during the show, just to spite those idiots.
I'll tell you what though, Elfie looks good in that cowboy hat.
Dude, chicks look awesome in cowboy hats. Mm-hmm. They should wear them more than guys. They look great. What were we talking about?
And it's funny because she's much more like all the things that are traditionally masculine, like fixing like motors and household appliances and all that. That's what she does. I'm a nerd. I make videos and tinker around on Facebook. She fixes our appliances.
I was going to say, so you wear the skirt in the relationship, but turns out that's literally true.
Moving on. California legislatures and female board meetings.
Yes, that's the next
job, Commiefornia. Good job.
Yeah. All right, let me read you a little bit of what we got here. So, yes, this is from the Wall Street Journal. It says, California legislatures on Wednesday passed a bill that requires major companies based in the state to put female directors on their boards. If the bill is signed into law by Governor Brown, a Democrat, publicly traded companies based in the state will need to have at least one woman on their boards by the end of the year, and on boards of 5 or more directors, 2 or 3 women by the end of 2021, depending on the board size. Those that don't would face financial penalties. The bill passed the state assembly in a 41-21 vote. It is now headed to the state Senate, which approved an earlier version of the bill and is expected to approve the measure again before it heads to Governor Brown, who hasn't indicated his position. Well,
imagine how little these legislatures think of women that they're like, There's no way that women could possibly get on the board of a big company if we don't make these companies take women. Do you not know what that looks like to normal people? Are you that separated from reality that that's not where your mind goes? Because that's the first thing I thought. It's like, do you really think women can't compete for that? Because I know some. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
What the hell?
Like they need men to come in and rescue them and pull them up to positions that they wouldn't be capable of getting on their own. Now, I thought we believed in equality in this country. I thought we believed in meritocracy and allowing everybody an equal chance to rise to the top based on their own merit. California has rejected that entirely.
I think Alex Merced, I think he was the one that was talking about this. We don't have a meritocracy either. Maybe I want to have a female employee in a certain position because even if she's not as productive, having a female voice is useful in that position.
Well, I guess it would depend what position we're talking about here.
Right.
Board? No.
Maybe. So I can make a case that depending on your industry, maybe it is important to have a female voice on your board, if only to have a perspective that you don't normally get. When you say diversity is our strength, and that is what the left always talks about, there is truth to that. But they say it and don't know why it's true. Having diversity of thought, of background, of experience is really important because it lets you, especially in marketing, reach out to people that you couldn't before because you didn't know how they think. As much as we want to take people as individuals, societies don't really work that way. And when you're marketing, you need to market to clumps. So you find someone who understands that clump. And typically they understand it because they were part of it.
I mean, that may be the case, but you're not. Like,
but legislating it doesn't mean anything.
Here's the thing about it. Say you're a company that makes women's shampoo. That's the only thing you make, right? Now, you might say, oh, yeah, you'd want a female board member on that body. Well, not necessarily. Because if the board wants information that's useful in the development of a product, they consult with people. They do surveys. They send people on the field to find out what consumers want. That's what they do. They're not the ones actually doing all that. They just hire other people to go do that for them. What the board does is makes the financial decisions for the company that we're talking about. You know what I mean? So it's even in that case, it doesn't necessarily follow that you need a female on the board if a female is not the most qualified person for the individual job we're talking about. Now, sometimes that will be the case. Sometimes that will, I would not expect an all-male board to be running Cosmopolitan magazine. Something like that. I wouldn't expect that. Because
I wouldn't expect to see men on that board.
No, I wouldn't, because unless they were gay. Sorry for the stereotype there, but yeah.
Oh, dear Lord, here we go. Do I need to give you the tiki torch?
Yes, you do.
All right, so Carl brings up a good point here. I'm going to flash it up. He says, at work, I'm the only male in my department. And this brings me to the next obvious question. What if it's an all-female board? Why is there no protection to have to insert a man into that? I don't want that.
You know the answer.
I don't want that to happen. But by this logic, it should.
You know what the answer is. Systematic oppression. That's it. That's what it is. That in that case, that is the patriarchy's secret agent busting in an old woman's environment and messing everything up. See, here's the problem. They need to get him out of there. For the sake of women's everywhere, they need to get him out of there. You know what really bugs me about this whole situation? It devolves individuals just to some superficial. Not all cases are superficial, but it devolves them just to a certain set of features that they have no control over whatsoever. Now, say you have a company where all the most qualified individuals are men, and there's numerous reasons why this could be the case. I'm not going to get into all of them here because that's not the point of this podcast, but there's numerous reasons why in certain fields you can expect to have a lot more men represented than women. Now, say you want to promote a guy to the board. And he's the most qualified guy you have. You want to keep him. He's a great dude. You want to promote him, but you can't. Now, you can't because the government is forcing you to put somebody else in that position who doesn't deserve it, who didn't earn it, who didn't work their way into that position. They are put into that position because the government says they need to be in it. And that is it. It's saying, your female employee is going to contribute something vital, something invaluable by virtue of the fact that she's a woman. But the state has no way of knowing that. They're just assuming that to be the truth. But they don't know. They're just saying it has to be true because the false god of liberalism is equality. Like everybody's equal. And we don't have to look at any other factors. And if a woman is not on a board, it's automatically because of sexism. Any other factors besides the point, it has to be sexism. And that's the only way that philosophy makes any sense.
So let me now explain how this kind of thinking hurts women. And this has been happening. There's been articles written about this. And a lot of feminists are really upset that this is a thing, but it's their own doctrine that's causing it. Men in the workplace are not taking on female, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not mentoring them. Yeah. And it's because they're terrified. And as someone who has been falsely accused of terrible sexual crimes, I understand. It's terrifying. I don't like being anywhere near the women that I work with because I swing my arms a lot when I'm working, and how do I say this? So some of my female coworkers will come into my cubicle and be hanging over me, looking at something that I'm doing for my job, and I'm terrified in that moment. Because I'm like, what if I accidentally brush against her? Suddenly I am getting fired and being called a sexual harasser. This is the workplace. It's terrifying for men who are trying to do the right thing and aren't in positions of power where they're bulletproof. I can't imagine what it would be like for someone who's worked really hard to move up the ladder, and now you're looking at this situation like this is a time bomb. I can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. This creates what people call the Mike Pence effect. Now, remember when Mike Pence, the vice president, came under fire for saying that he will not meet with a woman that without his wife present. He will not meet one-on-one with them alone without his wife being present, or at least a third party being there.
And all the same people who are #MeToo are also Pence is a sexist. You can't have it both ways.
Yes, because what he's doing in that situation isn't sexist at all. What he's doing is protecting himself.
CYA.
Exactly, because in that situation, if you meet alone with a female for any reason, and you open yourself up to accusations, and in the modern day, it does not matter if there is any merit at all to those accusations. The mere accusation alone can sink your career. Mm-hmm. And in the case of the vice president, it can do a lot more damage than just sink a single person's career.
I mean, so it's part of the reason I have anxiety, crippling social anxiety. That is a big part of it. I'm terrified.
And this, of those things. Like you said, this hurts women because it puts them at a disadvantage in that situation.
Also, so the other thing that you will see there, if a man is mentoring a woman, there is no way, given our society, that you are not going to have people be like, oh, they must be sleeping together.
Yeah. And again, just the mere accusation alone can be enough to ruin people. If you can avoid any possibility of the accusation being laid against you, it's probably a good idea to do that. It's the chilling effect.
I know I'm taking us down a rabbit hole here, but it's relevant.
Right.
Do you know who Ninja is? He's a streamer, a Twitch streamer.
Nope. Wait. Did I?
Thousands a month streaming Fortnite.
I think I posted an article about this on the Roads to Liberty Facebook page.
Probably, because he will not stream with female streamers because he does not want the internet rumor mob going to his wife and being like, hey, your husband's streaming with this chick, he must be cheating on you. And first off, his wife is A, also a streamer, and B, absolutely gorgeous. So I don't think that's gonna happen anyway. But why tempt fate? Like why put yourself in that situation? He doesn't owe any of these people that he streams with. Like when he brings someone onto his stream, that's a signal boost for them. And he's saying, look, I'm not gonna signal boost women because I am not going to put my wife through that. Now, does that suck for women? Yeah. But at the same time, he can't help the way our culture works. And he is doing a beautiful thing, in my opinion, by protecting his wife. Because that is the only person that needs to matter.
It's one of the unintended consequences of the society we find ourselves in. You know, and the government sees it fit to use whatever artificial means they have to rectify the situation that is caused by the outrage culture and the social justice culture that we find ourselves in today. I mean, it's sad. It sucks. I understand. Yeah, it's a crappy thing. But at the same time, if you're a man in a position of power, you have to be able to protect yourself. And sometimes this is the result. And you can yell about sexism all you want, but at the end of the day, people are going to be self-interested and protect themselves first, which is what they should be doing. They're protecting themselves, their careers, and their reputations, and in the end, the livelihoods of themselves and their families. Sorry, that's what happens, you know, and it's going to continue to happen.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, I thought we talked a little bit about one of our friends out in New Hampshire, a one state legislature, Brandon Phinney.
Who has terrible taste in rap music, by the way.
Well, if you like rap music in general, so that's just a fact. Fight me. I'm sorry. I can't listen to rap. It's garbage. Absolute garbage. Not all of it. There's like a little bit that I can find tolerable, but overall.
Nathan confirmed Nazi 2018.
Yeah, the only reason I hate rap is because I'm a racist. The only reason. Because I hate black people. It's the only reason I hate rap. I actually had somebody say that to me once. It's like, oh, well, I mean, it's kind of racist to not like rap because almost all rap artists are black. I'm like, is it though? No. That's stupid. And you're stupid for saying that. No.
You're dumb and you should feel bad.
Yeah, you're a dumb person. You just made a dumb comment. And you should feel bad about that. But anyway, Brandon Phinney out in New Hampshire, who has terrible taste in music, or so I hear, passed a little bit of legislation over there that now says that bands and comedians and performers in New Hampshire are now allowed to drink while performing.
Let me asterisk that a little bit. It's not that he necessarily passed legislation. His big thing has been removing old legislation that doesn't belong. There was a law that prevented this, and he got rid of it, which is the most libertarian thing to do, is to get rid of laws.
Yes, bravo, good sir. Now, here's what was happening before. So there was a quirk in the New Hampshire state law, which categorized bands, and comedians, and stage performers as employees of the venue they were performing at. Mm-hmm. which is obviously nonsense. You're not an employee of a bar just because you did a comedy routine there. But the government in New Hampshire disagreed, and this would put performers under the auspice of the Liquor Commission. And the Liquor Commission does not allow employees to drink on the job, which meant if you're a band or a comedian and you're performing in New Hampshire, you're not allowed to drink on stage. Now, I don't know how many concerts you guys listening have been to, but
it's especially comedians were because being drunk can affect your ability to play music, like getting too much. Being drunk doesn't typically make you not funny if you're naturally a funny person. So
yeah, and it's just one of those little things that is absolutely ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense, and that is one of those little things that allow that if you elect libertarians to office, we can start getting rid of these stupid things that don't have any reason for existing. Like if I was in New Hampshire, I'm drinking, would I be breaking the law? I mean, we're performing live, aren't we? Am I an employee of Roads to Liberty? That would be funny.
You are currently working for Raptorden Studios?
Take me to jail. Come on, coppers, come and get me.
Oh, don't say that. Well, I guess you don't have a dog, so it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, they're not. I don't have a dog for them to shoot, so we're good.
We're gonna get letters.
See, if I was over at your place, your dog would probably maul the cops as he came in. So he'd probably be there too.
They would. If cops ever came into my house in force, they would actually have to shoot one of mine.
Yeah, it's a shame, but he might I don't know, take a little bit of skin off on his way out. It's like, that'll do. Yeah, but anyway, it's one of those silly things that government does. There was also a law against putting milk in glass bottles that he got that reversed. So now, if you're in New Hampshire, you can put milk in bottles again. So,
I believe that was based on they didn't want people reusing, because back when like milk would be delivered by the milkman, they didn't want people reusing the bottles. They wanted them to turn them in so they could be clean. There was probably a reason for that at some point.
It was a 1909 law that has been in effect for over a century now, and it took one man switching parties to the Libertarian Party to get that law off the books. And for that, we thank you, Brendan Phinney. You keep doing you, supporting liberty, one stupid law repealed at a time. I think that's all we had on that issue. What else do we have on the list of issues? All right.
Can you keep talking about the Cubs?
Why? Do you not like the Cubs?
I hate the Cubs. I hate talking about them. And I feel like that we've kind of beat this topic to death in the past.
Who are you talking about?
Like a team that doesn't suck, and we'll talk about them.
I mean, they won the World Series relatively recently.
Oh, whatever.
I mean, probably more recently than your favorite team.
Yes, but my team didn't whine about it and always say, "Oh, it's going to be better next year." We weren't the most annoying fans in sports.
That's Miami Hurricane fans. No, wait, that's Dallas Cowboy fans.
We're not annoying.
You're a Cowboy fan?
Yeah, dude, I'm everything Dallas except for the Rangers.
Oh God, we can't do this anymore.
I'll tell you what though. So Elfie,
Here you are complaining about Cubs fans, constantly going, it'll be better next year. That's like the MO for Dallas Cowboys. What on earth are you talking about?
Titles in my lifetime. It's not that big of a deal. Like, you don't ever hear us going like, "Oh, back in the day." We know when our titles were.
Yes,
we know we'll get back there at some point.
Yes, you do. I hear it all the time from Cowboy fans. Oh my! Oh,
the The only time it ever comes up is when we're around Eagles fans, because for the longest time, they would annoy us, and we'd be like, yeah, but how many titles do you have? And now the assholes went off and won one, so we can't do it anymore. It was fun because they were the only team in the East that didn't have a title.
Well, I mean, Eagles fans
and the worst fans in sports.
Eagles fans throw rocks at Santa Claus. So I think we can all agree Eagles fans are one of the worst fan bases in history.
No. The. Not one of. The.
I don't know, man.
They are the fan base that cheers when an opposing team's player gets injured and they realize he's not getting up. Screw Philly.
I don't know, man. I always have a special place of hatred in my heart for Miami Hurricane fans.
Yeah, they're douches too, but it's not the same level.
I mean, that's every Husker fan in the history of ever hates Miami and everything that has to do with them.
So here's the thing. As Husker fans, we have had to learn to take pleasure in other people's pain because we don't have anything to be happy about recently. Watching Texas and Miami lose just gut-wrenching games that they thought they were going to win.
Yes.
And week one was just like, oh, yes.
Well, see, at least Miami lost to LSU. LSU is a good team. That's an SEC team.
Blown out, though.
But at least that's a good team. Texas lost to Maryland.
The ugliest uniforms in college football.
Maryland doesn't have their head coach right now.
Or uniforms that you want to look at. Let's really focus on the uniforms here. Those are ugly uniforms.
Oh, they're terrible uniforms. The Big Ten should have never invited Maryland for that reason alone. They should have been like, hey, never wear those helmets again. That is a new Big Ten bylaw. If you put that stupid flag on your stupid helmets, you're out of the Big Ten. Go. We're taking someone else. You don't deserve this privilege anymore.
You know, they only got brought in because the Big Ten's a basketball powerhouse and they wanted another good team.
They wanted the Maryland TV base. They wanted to sell the Big Ten network in Maryland. That's why Rutgers is in there. Freaking Rutgers? Really?
New Jersey.
Yeah, it's
the New York market.
It's the New Jersey market. They want to be able to sell Big Ten network subscriptions in New Jersey. Even though no one gives a damn about college football in New Jersey. Nobody. If people cared, Rutgers would be good. That's the only reason Nebraska's good, because people care. Literally the only reason. Aren't we supposed to be a politics podcast?
Look, sometimes you just have to let off steam.
Sometimes you do. And you know what? With Nebraska not being able to play this last weekend, I'm pissed. You're pissed. Everyone in the state of Nebraska is pissed. You guys know what I'm talking about. Stupid Mother Nature canceling our football game after the opening kickoff. I'm so angry.
Look, I think Mike was right. This is payback for all the weather-related puns that we were making about Scott Frost.
Yeah. Oh, frost advisory. No, it's a lightning advisory. And the game is canceled.
So,
well.
Why is the next thing on here John McCain? I thought we agreed not to talk about that.
Oh, well, I didn't write any notes under that, so we can just skip over that. No, if you guys want to...
That funeral was obnoxious.
I didn't watch it.
Everything about that funeral was obnoxious.
That funeral was taking place simultaneous to college football, so there was no reason for anybody alive to watch it. If John McCain were my uncle, I would have been watching college football instead. I would have had it on my phone in the church, be like, yeah, go Maryland. Hell yeah. So if you guys want to know my thoughts on the John McCain thing, go listen to Dave Smith's Part of the Problem. He had a whole episode about this. He said exactly my thoughts far better than I ever could. So go listen to that so I don't have to say it myself and get people angry at me.
I'm still not touching this topic because as a wise rabbit and my mother once said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
I mean, we're a podcast, right? So we got to say something. We've said mean things on this podcast about a great many people. What are you talking about?
We've said mean things a great many times about John McCain. I don't think I need to re-say any of them.
Yeah, Kane.
Just if you want to know our thoughts here, go back to all the other times we talked about him. It's never been glowing. Anyway, wait, what?
So did you want to talk the Cub stuff, or did you want to skip down to your topic?
Talk about. Oh dear, when did this get put in?
What
is this about? Is this about the Black Panther movie where they were like encouraging people to be like the guy that makes all the weird noises at the white dude?
Okay, we gotta talk about this a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh, this makes my thinking places hurt.
The Root is everyone's favorite black supremacist, racist dog whistle site. It's fantastic. And they had an article up, and it's up on the Road to Liberty Facebook page right now, that was encouraging black people to bark, yes, bark, literally bark, at white people who speak out of turn. That's what they want to do.
Anytime a white person speaks, if you're a black supremacist.
Yeah, if you read The Root, anytime a white person says anything at all, your proper response, apparently, is to bark at them like a dog. That's because that's going to combat racism. You start acting like an animal when other people speak. Good luck with that, I guess. I don't think it's going to work out.
Yeah,
me, but
that's good.
Bark, 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 bark.
The thing is,
bark, 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 bark. Don't talk white person.
In that movie, it was a black guy making monkey sounds to a white guy. I don't know what to do with that. I'm confused.
Now, here's the funny thing.
I thought it was racist. We've been hearing for like a week that the Republicans are racist because one of them said not to monkey up an election.
Racist. That's a dog whistle, man.
I can't. I don't know what to do with this. I guess it goes back to the left not having standards if they didn't have double standards. I can't. My ability to can't is even or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't even speak right now.
The funniest thing about it, I mean, the Black Panther, it's an okay movie. Not great. It's an okay movie at best. But you're not allowed to say that because it's the only Marvel movie with the primarily black cast. But here's the thing about it. Did nobody
We're
notice?
We're going to forget Blade.
Yeah, well, Marvel. But nobody seemed to notice.
It's Marvel! That is a Marvel superhero!
It's not MCU. It's different, okay? Different. But anyway, nobody seemed to notice that Wakanda is an ethno-state with closed borders. Are we not?
They literally have a wall. It's just a high-tech one.
It's a big, beautiful wall. It's a gorgeous wall with many big, beautiful doors around it. And they're literally an ethno-state who are incredibly racist. Did nobody pick up on this? I mean, I like the movie okay. It's fine, I guess.
Only the Nazis picked up on it, Nathan.
It's literally like if Wakanda had been a country in Central Europe, everybody would be saying, this movie is a dog whistle to Nazis and white supremacists. But because it's set in Africa and there are a bunch of black people, the fact that it's an ethno-state with closed borders, with a giant wall around the entire country, apparently we're all supposed to ignore this fact. Or in the case of The Root, not even notice it. Because they're a bunch of black supremacists. Now, guys, black supremacists are no better than white supremacists. I know, controversial, they're just as bad. They're douchebags too. And you shouldn't listen to anything they say. And you especially shouldn't bark at people because their skin tone doesn't match yours. And it's definitely not going to combat racism if you do that.
All right, let's move on. We got one thing left, and we got to leave in like 2 minutes. So,
all right, go ahead.
This is me totally stealing this from friend of the show, John Phillips. Trickle-down taxes. this is something that we need to articulate more often because we understand it, but we don't say it very often. When taxes hit the rich people are typically rich because they own businesses. If I own a business and the taxes go up, my prices go up. When my prices go up, people have to pay more money. When they have to pay more money, they have less. Thus, the tax is being paid by the people buying my product who are less wealthy than me. And it goes down the line until it reaches the bottom, and it is people who have the least amount of money to spare. Taxes are always paid by the poor. At the end of the cycle, they are always the ones most affected by it. I'm poor. This pertains to me. Please stop the trickle-down taxes. It hurts.
We're just get attacked by rich people. That's perfectly. We should just tax the rich people 100% and then redistribute all that money because that'll make sense.
Yeah.
That's what we'll do. What you say is absolutely right. When you raise taxes on companies, are going to have to raise their prices in order to compensate. The only time that isn't true is in the case of really large companies. Say your Walmarts, your Target, stuff like that. Really large companies that can absorb the extra cost. But you know who's not absorbing the extra cost? All these mom and pop stores that liberals claim to care about. They can't absorb them. They can't compete. You know, when you raise their taxes and all these tax plans that liberals and Democrats are always proposing raise their taxes as well. It's not just the 1% who are going to have their taxes raised. When all these small companies have their taxes raised, they can't simply absorb the extra cost.
The 1%
they have
is like
to raise their price.
The 1% is people over $250,000. I know that sounds like a lot to some of us. That is not that much money when you own a business.
Yeah, no, it's really not. And that's not like personal wealth. That's like how much you make in a year. You know, that's gross income. And when all that income has to go right back into your company, $200,000 isn't that much money. It's
I will
really
say this.
not.
I don't know my brother's exact financials. Just spitballing off the top of my head. He's on the, I would say between 1 and 200,000. That's his gross, roughly. I'm not sure, and I'm not going to out what he does or anything. After taxes, employees, and supplies, and all those other costs, he doesn't make a whole lot more than I do. He just doesn't. So, he's not top 1%, obviously. Not that bracket I just put him in didn't get there. But he'd be in the top 3 easily, 3 or 4. That money goes away quick.
Yeah, and
when
this
you have to, go ahead.
It's not even factoring in the risk. Because as an employee, you have a lot less risk than he does. You know, he has a bad selling cycle. You know, just like that. And who is the last person to get paid in any business? It's the owner. The owner is the last person paid. The employees get paid first. That's why most people prefer to be employed as opposed to being business owners. Because when you're a business owner, you get paid last. Everyone else that works for you, they get their paychecks first. Whatever's left over, you get. And if there's nothing left over, you get nothing. And that's the risk that goes into being a business owner. Mm-hmm. But people don't like to say that. Everyone thinks that it's Jeff Bezos. You know, that's what business owners are. Everyone thinks it's, they have all this money, they can just pay more. No, that's not it. No, almost every business owner is a small business owner.
Yep. Anyway, it's time to go. We need
All right, everybody. Zach's got to go, so we got to go too. Remember, roadstotheliberty.com is our website. You can catch us every Monday night at 8:30 on the Roads to Liberty Facebook page. We're also on Twitter, Roads to #2 Liberty, and on YouTube, Again, roads to the number 2 liberty. All right, guys, we hope to see you next week on our live broadcast. Remember to leave your comments, and if they're good, we'll read them on the show. All right, everybody, we'll see you next week.